What's up, everybody? This is Drew with ODM Photography. I have another how-to slash workflow slash try and learn photography using Lightroom tutorial video for you today. As well, we're going to be crossing into Photoshop at the very end to show you a cool trick with the healing brush on how to remove something that you don't like within an image. So today I'm going to be working on a sunset picture I took out at Belle Isle here in Richmond, Virginia. I have an original photo that I did and edited last year, and I'm redoing this because I noticed that the one that was posted on my Facebook last year was extremely dark. So I like to keep the raw files just because the creative mind is consistently flowing, and I feel like you always need to keep it just in case you want to go back or look at something else and say you learned something new or something like that. You can always apply it to something that you've already taken. So I've kept this photo, and now I'm going to rework it and show you how the steps that I took to get it to where it is now. And as well, we're going to cross over, like I said, to Photoshop at the very end just so I can show you a real cool trick on how to remove, in this case, a building from the photo using a healing brush. So as always, I hope you enjoy. Please follow me, facebook.com/ODM Photography. That's with an IE. As well, I'm on YouTube and Twitter. Both those links will be provided in the description below. All right, hope you enjoy. Hey, everybody. All right, so as I said, we're going to take this photo that I have right here, and we're going to work it and get this photo right here. So let's clear everything out and get started. So right here, I have the original imported photo. As you can tell, it's very boxy, and the sky and the water are the colors are muted. I was working with my Nikon, and I was catching the sunset at the last second. And even though this isn't the best sunset, I mean, I love the contrast that you'll see in the sky and everything like that. But I was standing on a bridge underneath another bridge, and so I did get a little shaky at the very end, so you'll notice that things in the distance might not be as in focus. So though it's not what I would consider my best work, I still like the photo, and I feel that, you know, even if it's not the best, if you get proper colors and stuff like that, it'll work itself out. So ultimately, I love this photo, and yeah, so once again, let's get started. So first thing I want to do is I want to straighten out this photo, and I want to crop it a little bit. So we're going to come up here in Lightroom to the crop tool, and you're just going to click the tool. It's very simple. We're going to come down here to angle, and as you notice, the grids get smaller, and we're just going to angle this until the horizon looks straight. So right there looks pretty good, and once you get it the way you like it, just click return, and you can double check it, and as you can see, the horizon looks to be straight. And so now we're just going to click the crop tool again, and I'm going to bring the bottom half up, let's say right about there. Okay, and see, I like that. Ultimately, at the very end, I'm going to delete this part of the sky right here, so I'm going to recrop it, but for right now, we have a pretty good starting point. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll all the way down here. We're going to remove the chromatic aberration and enable the profile correction. Sometimes when you're using certain lenses, Lightroom won't pick it up automatically, so you have to come down here. In this case, I was using a Rokinon 14mm. I click Rokinon, and it figures out the rest for me. And it removes the bowling and the vignetting around the image. The next thing I'm going to do is just quick sharpening. Same thing I normally do. I do 90 on the sharpening, 10 on the luminance. I come over here to the masking, hit the Alt key, and then I click the masking, and I just go. Generally around 50% is good. Yeah, that looks perfect right there. I click return, and what that's going to do is the masking is just going to allow it to sharpen everything that's in white. So basically the edges. That's really all I wanted sharpened. I didn't want the entire image because, as I mentioned in the last video, that introduces noise, which is those little grains that you find within an image when you zoom in real close. Okay, so the next thing is, now that we've done all that, that's all the basics that I do, and now we're coming down to the highlights and the shadows. Unlike the photo that I originally did on Facebook, I just dipped the highlights because it gave me great color in the sky, but I didn't bring out the shadows. And even though right there looks decent, trees weren't brought out, and the image to me just looked more dark than it was beautiful. And this was a beautiful sunset. It wasn't as dark. So I'm going to crank up my shadows just like that. And we're going to come down to the whites. As always, hit the Alt key. Just move the whites until you get a little bit of a burn showing through. And unclick. And then same thing with the blacks. Alt. And we're just going to add a little black to add a little contrast to the image. In that case, I think I went a little too far, so I'm going to bring them back. But as always, you mess around with it how you like. This is all, you're creating an image that's pleasing to you. Ultimately, in this image, I wanted to convey how beautiful the sunset was. I couldn't believe it. I was out walking, and there was this beautiful sunset when I wasn't even focused on taking a sunset that night. So thank goodness I had my 14 millimeter with me. So, all right. So now that I have that, as you can see right there, that's a pretty decent image. But I want to bring out right here where the sun is coming down. And so I'm going to go over here to the radial filter tool, not radio filter. I'm going to bring that up. And in this case, I brought up the temperature. Oh, I forgot to mention that. Let's clear everything out. So with the radial filter, I want to bump up the exposure a little bit. So I'm going to put that at like a plus 30. And then I want the image right here to be a little warmer. I want the warmth to go out a little far. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag the temperature tool until there we go. And it just brings out the yellow in the sky and the oranges. And then I'm going to add a little magenta to bring out the reds a little more. And there we go. I've got that. I like that a whole bunch. You can adjust the saturation in this case. I don't think I'm going to adjust the saturation. Contrast, I'm going to leave that alone. And right here, this little reset tool will show you what changes have been made. Even though this is subtle, this is still a pretty cool change. So let's see what it's done. So you see how it got real dark right there. And when I click it to show it, it brought out the color so the sun's rays were shining out. So I like that, and I'm going to click enter when I'm done. Now I want to go to the brush tool. And so I go over here to the brush tool. I'm going to click new, or as I don't have any other brush strokes, but I just like to make sure. And now we're going to warm up the image a little bit. So the blues I want to bring out, and the purples up here in the tops of the skies, and I might even do a little bit on the water. So I'm just going to stretch the temperature and the tint back to 0, and then I'm going to pull the temperature a little warm, and then the tint a little more to magenta. I'm going to widen my brush. In this case, I'm going to feather it as far as it will go, and let's get to painting. Okay, and so now that I've painted that on there, it's just a little too much for me, so I'm going to adjust the temperature a little bit because I just wanted it to be subtle. I didn't want it to be too blue where the clouds look ominous a little bit. So we're just going to do that. And then let's bring in a little more magenta. For some odd reason, to me, that purple and red worked really well. And so now I'm going to smallen up the brush a little bit because I noticed I went a little too far down here. I still want you to be able to see the gradient and how the transition between the colors go. So I'm going to hit the Alt key, turns it to a little minus, and then I'm going to gently just brush away a little bit right there, just to give it that gradient effect, and that to me looks really well. So now we have that. But the trees as well, due to the water, look a little blue. Actually, let's go ahead and try the water out a little bit. Let's see what adding a little bit to the water will do. Let's see how well that works out. Always be sure to adjust your brush if you don't want something to be affected. Oh wow, I actually like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so we're going to leave that there. I'm going to click return, and then I'm going to come back to the brush, and I'm going to click, I'm going to click new again, and this time I'm going to warm up the image because the trees are a little too blue for me. So I'm going to bring up the warmth, and I'm going to add a little green tint to it. Let's make the brush big. And I'm going to paint that once again right over top. And notice how the leaves are getting a little green, or getting a little greener. You're introducing a little bit of yellows into the light greens, and I'm just going to continue to paint over the image. I'm going to get everything that is green within this image, and I'm going to give it, I'm just going to paint over it just like that. Very simple. And you don't have to be precise. You still want the image to look natural. Get the tops of these trees. Just like that. Now let's take a look and see what exactly we've done right there. Because I know it might not be as vivid watching it on here, but let's just see if we can get a better view of what happened. So when we take everything away, oh whoops, let me select the brush stroke. Oh, I do have the brush stroke selected. Okay. But if you notice, if you look at it, when I remove it, the green right here, everything gets flattened out. It's real dull. It's not bright. It's not vibrant. And that's all based upon the clouds and the river right here. It's a reflection. It's something within the reflection that happens when there's more blue present. Then everything else gets that reflected tint. So I'm going to bring everything back, and there we go. So we have this right here, and I like this. I feel like it's really good. No, I was thinking I was going to bring out some of the sun that's reflected off of the river, but I think adjusting the river's temperature actually helped with that. So we're going to click OK, double click it, and that's the image we have now. Like I said, I don't like this right here at the top, so I'm going to come back to the crop tool, and I'm just going to chop that out. And we're going to remove that. And I actually might bring up the bottom just a little bit more. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want your horizon line to be the center focal point of an image. As crazy as that sounds, you want more of the sky, or you want more of down here. You want more above the horizon line or more below the horizon line. In this case, I wanted a little more above the horizon line because, once again, the variance within the clouds to me is what I love so much about this image. As well, yeah, I think I'm going to keep that like that. So there we go. With these few simple steps, we now have this image. But the one problem that I've had with this photo is the buildings back here. I can't really figure out anything to do with them to make them pop. To me, it just is an eyesore to the photo because it's right underneath the sunset. So here's a little cool trick that you can use within Photoshop. And as most of y'all know, Lightroom now, I believe it's 10 or 20 bucks. I can't remember exactly, but you just pay for it monthly and you get both of them. So most people who have Lightroom will be able to do this second step. So I'm just going to double click on the image. I'm going to go to Edit In, and we're going to edit in Adobe Photoshop CC. So just click that. Okay, so now we're over here in Photoshop, and let's open up our Layers tab. For this, I'm not really going to add an extra layer, but it's always good to know where your Layers tab is and have that open in case you need to delete anything with any work that you've done. But in this case, like I said, I don't really think I'm going to create another layer. So I'm just going to close that for right now. Over here is your healing brush. It looks like a little band-aid. And you just double click on it and you make sure it's on the healing brush tool, not spot healing brush. And so you're just going to click the healing brush. And here's a real cool thing. You make it as big as you want. In this case, I'm going to zoom in on the image a little bit. And I'm going to zoom right in here to what I don't want. And I'm going to click over here, and it's going to ask you to hit the Alt key. And what the Alt key is going to do is it's going to select a starting point for you to basically mirror when you're covering over this. So in this case, I'm going to start off right here. And I hit the Alt key, and then I click on that one spot. And that's it. It's picked up that color, and now you just start to paint over the image. And if you look, there's a plus sign off to the left, and that's what it's copying. It's copying all that information, and it's painting it within that section. And so I like to change it up a little bit because I don't want 3 sections of that. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to re-click Alt, and I'm going to click over here. And now I'm going to start painting with that. And I'm just going to cover up everything within this building. Now right up here at the edges, it can get a little tricky just because of the light shining through the tops of the trees, so I'm not going to take it up so far. But once again, I'm just going to choose another section now, click Alt, and I'm going to start painting that right on over into the image. I'm going to try to get all of this building out. And there we go. With just one simple tool over here in Photoshop, I was able to cover up that building, and in most cases, aside from y'all viewing right now, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Actually, I see that one spot there. I'm just going to click Alt over here, and I'm going to color that up so it's a little, there we go. And there. So let's zoom out. And there is our finished product. That's really cool, isn't it? And then if you want to save it and just take it back on over to Lightroom to continue editing the photo, if you're done, you can just save it here in Photoshop, or you can come over here to just click File, click Save, and what that's going to do is it's going to take this image, DCF0008 edit to TIFF, and it's going to bring it over here to Lightroom. And as you can see, it's updating, but there is the edited photo in Lightroom. So if Lightroom is your main editing software, you bring it back over here, and now you can readjust the image if there's anything else that you feel like you need to do. Hey guys, well that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks again.